United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson shot and killed your hotel. We just know who the victim is, right? Who cares? Thoughts and prayers and general good vibes of the assailant. Will insurance cover the expenses, or is he out of luck? He died doing what he loved, not getting necessary treatment in a timely manner. That is on December 4th, immediately after it happened. Nobody knew anything other than who the victim was, and this is how they arrived. This was the conclusion. Come on, man.
It's a wild time, right? To think that in a city like New York, that someone could disappear so easily.
A manhunt is underway for the assassin who took out one of the most powerful business leaders in this country.
One of the things that I think breaks through oftentimes.
Like, dude, I need you guys to understand, like, the level of media coverage and the level of, like, immediate reaction. That in and of itself is a story, too. I think that in and of itself is, like, somewhat of a radicalizing moment for people as well. I saw so many people be like, dude, like, I didn't see this kind of immediate response from the police when, like, a family member of mine got fucking gunned down, you know? It's like when a CEO dies, you gotta have the whole nation on alert, you know? America is a nation that has been inflicted with gun violence. Thousands of people every year die to mass shootings, and we have no solutions for that and no protection for that. And yet when a fucking CEO gets clapped in broad daylight, it's like society's collapsing. We have to do something. When your kids go to school and you worry about them possibly getting fucking gunned down, there's no solutions to that problem, you know? Nothing we can do about it. Sorry. What did J.D. Vance say? Mass shootings are a part of daily existence, whether we like it or not. It is what it is, guys. But goddamn, this is like if a serf killed a feudal lord. The response is almost the exact same. Yep. Yeah, best I can do is door control. CEO gets shot. It's like, if you even dare to think in your mind, you don't even have to. I will be judging your reactions. And if you even dare to not say this is the most devastating moment in American history, that a for-profit healthcare CEO that got assassinated, who was responsible for countless deaths, countless families ripped apart. If you don't actually immediately go, sad, I'm so sad, we have fallen as a society, we will arrest you. Good stuff. They can't arrest all of you. That's the reality. There is a lot of protection in numbers. There's a lot of freedom in that.
Is a manhunt.
Allegedly or reportedly, a silencer may have been used.
The motive for this currently is unknown.
Many people sought vengeance on their own behalf.
People are celebrating someone who's accused of gunning down a man.
Really was a modern day assassination.
It's December 4th. It's the busiest time in New York City. We're approaching the holiday season. Brian Thompson wakes up to speak at a conference. As he's approaching the side entrance of the Hilton, there's the gunman who steps out from the street onto the sidewalk and then shoots him in the back and the leg, and Brian falls to the ground. The gunman is very precise. He knows who he's looking for. Kind of takes a couple of hours for the news to get out there and for people to realize the magnitude.
A cold-blooded assassination this morning outside the...
Yeah, it took like 3 minutes for everyone to be like, oh, this shit is actually not something that I care about. Like, at the most, people were just like, honestly, on the one end of the spectrum, people were like, this is awesome. Why not more? Okay. And of course, disavow, we condemn. How dare you think that way? On the other end of the spectrum, the maximalist position on the other end of like caring was basically, oh well, life moves on. Like, that's it. That's it. Most people looked at this and were like, oh, fucking healthcare. Like the median response to this was, oh, a healthcare CEO was assassinated. Oh, I know exactly how that happened. That was the average person.
The Hilton Midtown Hotel.
United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson shot in cold blood this morning. That happened in one of the busiest places on earth.
And that is just crazy. you can start to see the interest just grow. Who did this and why?
If he was truly targeted, I think somebody probably made a lot of money, and that's really terrible.
It's so scary. It's to think that the shooter is still out there.
Police launch a massive...
Yeah, so scary. Don't worry, my lady. Your Scottish ass is fine. I don't think he's coming after you. I like that they couldn't find like a bunch of New Yorkers to be like, oh, I'm so devastated by this. They found a fucking random Scottish tourist.
Manhunt. So after the shooting, from what police can tell, he gets on the bike and he goes a couple.
They had to fly to Scotland to get somebody sympathetic to the CEO. No, a Scottish person that was there.
Blocks and enters the park at around 6:48 a.m. The next time police capture,
they should have asked her how she feels that Americans have to pay for health care. Would have heard a very different opinion, I think.
Him on surveillance video is when he's getting in a...
Americans have to pay for health care? Are you out of your dang mind? Are you fucking joking? Never mind.
A yellow taxi cab on 86th Street, heading towards, they believe at that point, to a bus station. As police are going through the crime scene, they find the shell casings and the bullets they believe were used in this crime. And what police say they find are the words delay, deny, and depose.
Yeah. She was about to be like, you pay for health care? It's for profit out here. They should kill that guy. Whoever made it that way deserves the death penalty. Never mind. Kaya, please. Every time she sees my mom, she's like, oh, is...
And right away, they realize that this may have something to do with the health insurance industry.
So, how big is United Healthcare? Well, more than 50 million Americans are on it. In terms of its revenue, nearly $300 billion. According to the Fortune 500 list, United Health Group is in the top 5. You know, we're talking about companies like Walmart and Apple.
There's this corporate video of Brian Thompson speaking about all the great things his company is doing to help people get health care.
Our mission and values are focused on helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone.
Most folks would have had no idea who he was. There really has not been a name to associate with all this frustration in terms of health.
Well, it seems like there is now.
Healthcare in this country, but now I think for some people there is a name that is associated with it.
True.
Then in about 5 hours or so, police would hold a press conference.
Right now, we are asking the public for your help.
And even there, they didn't have a full picture. He moved around without causing any kind of suspicion.
We did have video, enough to know what occurred, but we certainly did not know who the suspect was or really had a good idea of what he looked like. And then all of a sudden, we start getting better images.
Pictures show him at a Starbucks, just 2 blocks from the shooting site.
Part of the reason why Americans stayed tuned in was because there always seemed to be some new development happening. First, we were able to get a look at his face with the mask on, then with his mask off.
New images of what the NYPD is calling a person of interest.
This could be a major break in the case.
The moment that photos started coming out about him, it started taking a turn.
Because a lot of people find him really attractive. Yeah.
Do you think that's why so many people are supporting him?
Honestly, yeah. It's the halo
people
effect.
People say this, but like, dude, they didn't know what his face looked like and they were supportive of him. Like, what do you mean? People were supportive of him before they knew what his actual transparent motive was. People were supportive of him before they saw his face. People saw a healthcare CEO being gunned down in broad daylight and were like, that's awesome. Okay. And sure, him being white, him being attractive, him coming from like a good family, a wealthy family, like all of that actually plays a role in this for sure. But I don't think people gave a fuck about the way he looked when they were figuring out what the motive was. They literally figured out the motive before we knew the motive. One must examine why. That's it. That's it. Not us, though. We cried. Exactly. Thank you for saying that. We cried immediately. I cried. I crowed. We creed. I think a lot of this is just like done to infantilize the people and to reframe the public sentiment as like one born out of horniness and not and not one that is like, you know, a valid concern that people have, a valid resentment that people feel. Yeah, I cried, you cried, we crowed. We crowed!
Like manifesting in real society.
People couldn't, I think, in some ways believe that someone who looked like this would commit this kind of a crime.
Support is exploding online.
People are joking about the suspect being sexy, talking about Brian Thompson. We saw people saying,
I can't even pretend to care. I hope he's looking up at us. I'm sorry, prior authorization. Yeah, this has nothing to do with, this was literally before people knew what his face looked like. I remember these comments because I read them out loud. Okay, I read them out loud literally a couple hours after the shooting had occurred. So I know for a fucking fact that these people had no idea what he looked like at all. You know? CNN has a very let them eat cake attitude towards insurance companies. Free Luigi. Hey, don't forget to mention how empathetic the shareholders of UHC were who went on to the shareholder meeting at Hilton. Why are we not examining the healthcare health insurance industry and how they've conspired against the American people? So much that has come to this. HGTV now has higher ratings than CNN. Luigi is receiving good messages from all over the world. This was as cringe as it gets. Remember the police were bluffing about knowing his name? They had no clue. Free Luigi. Violence didn't start with a gunshot. Oh my God. Yeah, I know. People are, my mom has seen the conspiracies and is saying, you know, they're saying that the thing that they found in his backpack was not his. Yeah, look, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson shot and killed your hotel. We just know who the victim is, right? Who cares? Thoughts and prayers and general good vibes of the assailant. Will insurance cover the expenses or is he out of luck? He died doing what he loved, not getting necessary treatment in a timely manner. That is on December 4th, immediately after it happened. Nobody knew anything other than who the victim was, and this is how they arrived. This was the conclusion. Come on, man.
Sorry for my thoughts and prayers. Everybody gets sick. Everyone has to go to the doctor. Everyone has experienced the cold, heartless bureaucracy of it.
People forget that these numbers that they're interacting with affects actual people's lives.
The anger was very clear and direct. People jumped online to share their stories.
Because United Healthcare had just denied my son a refill for his life-saving medication.
Do you have a story about United Healthcare? Because I sure as hell do.
I saw a million.
Like, look at that. That's a Barbara. Hey, yo, that's a Deborah, dog. That isn't like a non-binary communist by the name of Sock. That's a whole ass Deborah. When you're losing the Deborahs who are so predisposed to law and order narratives, you fucking lost it. You know what I mean? That ain't a septum ring-wearing, bisexual, aromantic DSA voter, okay? That's a whole ass Barbara. That's why you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't just like look at all these people who are like, yeah, this shit sucks. Like, the system is awful. A pressure valve has been released. Luigi got the Barbussy quaking, okay?
Million stories like that, having been denied care or their children having been denied care.
If you were to ask Americans, you know, whether or not the health care in this country is excellent or good, less than a third say that the coverage is excellent or good.
People are responsible for their own actions, but this murder doesn't happen without the greater context of resentment, distrust in institutions.
The meeting of the Security Council is called to order.
The breakdown in trust has been going on for 2 decades.
The purpose of that resolution was to disarm Iraq of its weapons of mass destruction.
It started.
Normally, I would say this is a little crazy. We're going back to Neo-Confucianism or whatever, but like, this is something that I talk about quite a bit. Obviously, a big part of my commentary and coverage revolve around looking at media in a critical lens, okay? No, this framing is not wrong. Elle is pretty goated. I really like her coverage on CNN. I think she does a great job. But I think this is worthy of analysis. Post 9/11 America and the lies that the American media went along with in terms of justifying the illegal war on Iraq, the illegal occupation of Iraq, was a pivotal moment for a lot of people where they saw trillions of dollars of waste. They saw death and destruction. They saw how much these otherwise credible institutions that are supposed to always be on the pursuit of truth, that maintain some level of dignity, were completely playing ball with our government. And as time goes on, and as conditions worsened overall, as income inequality got worse and worse, the distrust only grew. And now we are living in the ashes of that. When you see so much disinformation online run rampant, when you see people who simply make money off of saying the media sucks and is lying to you, and then redirect your attention at like random nonsensical bullshit in an effort to divide Americans, remember, this was one of the first instances that radicalized a lot of people against mainstream narratives. This is something that I talk about quite a bit. People just fucking straight up hate mainstream media in general. Some of that hate is unwarranted. It comes out in times of instability and chaos, in times of repression, whether real or imagined, like COVID, for example. But the media certainly has given people plenty of real reasons as to why they must mistrust it. And I say this as someone who relies on mainstream media. I say it as someone who hopes that one day the many wonderful journalists who's reporting the truth in an accurate manner will be rewarded for it rather than get vilified for it. I say this as someone who understands the necessity of mainstream media. It is very, very frustrating that there is no consensus. Like, it's very frustrating that there is no real, unifying, trustworthy, credible journalistic outlet out there that people can rely on, and that its agenda causes people to fucking hate it. And that creates instability and chaos.
With the Iraq War, there were no weapons of mass destruction. It worsened with the financial crisis and the bailout of the banks. Well, normal people lost their homes. It was like the emperor has no clothes. It's when they realized that the institutions did not have the answers that they thought they would.
It leads to frustration, and more than that, it leads to hopelessness. And when you have hopelessness, actions that cannot be tolerated, at least in some corners of the country, are tolerated. Viewpoints towards the healthcare industry are so negative in this country that folks were willing to look past the fact that a father and a husband was shot dead.
The people in these higher positions, like CEOs, they need to look at the cost of living and the cost of their products, and they need to do better.
Good, how are you doing? What a way to start, right?
I'm sitting interviewing the police commissioner and the chief of detectives. You believe he's no longer here.
We said we have reason to believe he's no longer in New York City.
And that, I assume, is based on video of...
We have video of him entering the Port Authority bus terminal. We don't have any video of him exiting, so we believe he may have gotten...
No one knew where he was for a whole weekend. But police were still working. They were getting hundreds and hundreds of tips, reviewing hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage. On Monday, December 9th at 9:14 a.m., police finally get their big break. The suspect is seen sitting in McDonald's eating a hash brown, and an employee of the McDonald's calls 911. At 9:58 a.m., in Altoona, Pennsylvania, the police there take him into custody. And there they discover that he has fake IDs, a gun in his bag. This gun is really interesting because it's a ghost gun.
You can't trace a ghost gun because it's done, in many cases, through 3D printing. This is a guy who literally was able to print his gun.
But also in the bag, they find his passport. And that is where they learn his real name, Luigi Mangione. That night, the Manhattan DA's office files charges against him for murder in the second degree, criminal possession of a weapon, and then also a forgery charge.
If they've charged the right guy, Mangione's story is quite surprising. He's not some poor guy from a broken family.
He has relatives who are wealthy and a big part of the community. He went to an expensive private school for high school where he was valedictorian.
Sending us to Gilman was far from a small financial investment.
He went to the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school. He got a master's degree in computer science. He eventually ended up in Hawaii in a surf commune. He had a lot of friends.
He seemingly has everything going right for him. He had so much opportunity, from wealth to education. How did he develop these feelings to the point where he decided to wake up one morning, plan all of this out? Something changes in his life.
On Reddit, his purported profile is many, many comments about his extreme back pain and the lengths he's gone to try to get treatment. There's also reports from friends that he kind of fell off the face of the earth for 6 months. There's some reports that he got really into psychedelics. I think it's very telling that his manifesto is very, very short. He says he acted alone, that the US has by far the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and that he's the only one who's able to grapple with this fact with brutal honesty.
The manifesto, in many ways, speaks of kind of a martyr. On Tuesday, December 10th, he has a court appearance to be extradited back to New York City to face that murder charge. The sheriff's office is transporting him to the court, and as they arrive, Luigi Mangione sees cameras there, and it's very apparent he has something to say.
And completely out of touch and insult the intelligence of the American people.
And then you see the sheriff's office struggling with him and pushing him into the courthouse. So the next steps here really are the extradition hearing. He is going to have to face those murder charges. He will get indicted, and then we're going to have court proceedings.
The NYPD commissioner tonight is announcing that the gun that your client had on him when he was arrested matches the 3 shell casings at the scene of the murder in New York.
I still haven't seen that evidence. Lawyers need to see evidence.
I saw someone tweet about jury nullification, that this would be like OJ. I wouldn't be surprised if it all ends with a hung jury, but who knows?
I think we forget how sad all of this is, but this is a hit on something with so many people who think healthcare is so crappy. They have a hard time having empathy.
He left a very powerful message, and he highlighted how terrible the healthcare.
Here's the problem. Some people have good bosses, even though many have bad bosses. Some people, not us, have had good relationships with cops, although many have had negative relationships with cops. No one has had a good relationship with their healthcare insurance provider. It's not relatable. Like, in theory, I understand why policing as an institution has to exist. Someone has to solve crimes, for example. Like, in theory, I get it. So even if they fucking suck, people still go, well, what are you going to do? Let rapists run rampant? There is no world where you can make a similar theoretical argument for the existence of for-profit healthcare. Do you understand? Huh? Oh, I don't have it. It's not here. Okay, then. Do you see what I'm saying?
System is America. I think he'll go down as a hero in history.
The modern day Robin Hood, right? The idea is that this guy is fighting for us before we knew anything about him, even before we knew his name.
It's sad in many ways, but it's really, really interesting of where we are right now as a country.
What do you feel about the suspicion that the self-service McDonald's kiosk was used to face track Luigi? Does the Altoona McDonald's even have a self-serving kiosk? The suspicion, I think, is silly. I think I'm much more, they all do. I'm much more inclined. There should never be a discussion in regards to for-profit healthcare as a means to an end. It's inherently detrimental. I don't. A lot of people want to create like more convoluted narratives. Because they think like it's impossible for the biggest news story of that day was top of mind for everyone in Altoona, alongside, you know, as well as everywhere else, where they called it in. You know what I mean? Like, I think the narrative that you're hearing from the media on this is probably not untrue. I think it's probably correct that some older employee was like, oh my God, crime and punishment. This is a killer. I could see that. The issue, however, is like, I guess so many tips were being called in. Like, why this fucking random Altoona? But it also makes sense because how many fucking crazy things are happening in Altoona? I'm sure that there are plenty of cops that can just go to like a random tip like this because it's fucking Altoona. You know what I mean? Like, if a tip like this is happening in a Philadelphia suburb, like a part of Philadelphia, I'm sure that like cops are probably not going to all of them. I think it's far less likely that police have that level of surveillance. Like, they do have this level of surveillance. The technology is already upon us. Like, we live under a surveillance state. But that is so much data to sift through. The idea that they actually literally fucking sifted through all this data is ridiculous. Like, they aren't just looking at CCTVs that they're tapped into, but they're also literally tapped into, like, the cameras at the fucking kiosks at McDonald's. Like, I don't know. It'd also have to go to an aggregate cloud of nationwide footage. Would be an incredible amount of data. Yeah. You said it yourself, NYPD's an army? No, dog. Like, there's no army that can deal with that. Your boomer is showing? Okay. Definitely more likely that some random fucking boomer was like, oh, this might be the killer. And also simultaneously, the Altoona Police Department, given that it's like not a fucking massive town, was more likely to go and entertain it. They sent a first timer. Like, they sent a fucking relatively green cop too. It's not like they sent like a random B cop to investigate. I don't know. They say that people don't have empathy when they're talking about the death of a CEO, but nobody's talking about the empathy for all those people that was fucked by this healthcare company. Yeah, you're not making a new point. We've been talking about it. Anyway, as I have promised, we are going to be watching Sicko. Finally, a film by Michael Moore. Michael Moore has written a manifesto against for-profit health insurance companies and has revealed his signature work, his Oscar-nominated documentary on the killer health insurance companies like United Healthcare CEO or United Healthcare Sicko for free. You can watch it for free now. Now, I'm not going to read this entire fucking manifesto, chatters, who are so goddamn boring and so brain broken that they're like, no, you have to read this entire thing. Yes, he's released it for free that you can watch. The reason why it's important is because Luigi Mangioni's manifesto actually covered lines from the Sicko documentary. In Mangiano's manifesto, he said he was not the most qualified person to lay out a full argument against our for-profit healthcare industry. Apparently, to Mangione, one of those qualified people is me. In his manifesto, he references how I've illuminated the corruption and greed, implying folks should go to my work to understand the complexity and the power-hungry abuse within our current system. It is not often that my work gets a killer 5-star review from an actual killer, and thus my phone has been ringing off the hook, which is bad news because my phone doesn't have a hook. Emails are pouring in. Text messages, requests from many in the media. Luigi mentioned you in his manifesto that people should listen to you. Will you come on our show and talk to our reporter and tell him that you condemn murder? Do I condemn murder? That's an odd question. In Fahrenheit 9/11, I condemn the murder of hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqi people and the senseless murder of our own American soldiers in the hands of our American government. In Bowling for Columbine, I condemn the murder of 50,000 Americans every year at the hands of our gun industry and our politicians who do nothing to stop it. In my 35 years as a filmmaker, Have I said or done anything that has implied I condone murder? As a teen, yeah, I mean, I love Michael Moore. He's right. Here's a sad statistic for you. In the United States, we have a whopping 1.4 million people employed with the job of denying health care versus only 1 million doctors in the entire country. That's all you need to know about America. We pay more people to deny care than to give it. 1 million doctors to give care, 1.4 million brutes in cubicles doing their best job to stop doctors from giving that care. Now, Michael Moore, don't worry. United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson had a solution for that. An approach to streamline this process. He utilized AI to make sure that that number was whittled down, okay? If the purpose of healthcare is to keep people alive, then what is the purpose of denying people healthcare other than to kill them? I definitely condemn that kind of murder. And in fact, I already did. In 2007, I made a film, Sicko, about America's bloodthirsty, profit-driven, and murderous health insurance system. It was nominated for an Oscar as the second largest grossing film of my career. After the killing of CEO of United Healthcare, the largest billion-dollar insurance companies, there was an immediate outpouring of anger towards the health insurance industry. Some people have stepped forward to condemn this anger. I am not one of them. Oh, my goat. I'm nutting. The anger is 1,000% justified. It is long overdue for the media to cover it. We crashed his website? Jesus Christ. Let me see if I can get Michael Moore on, because I feel like, what's the best way to reach out to him? Does he have a Twitter? Does he follow me on Twitter? Damn, he don't follow me and I don't follow him. All right, I just followed him. Maybe I can get him through Adam McKay. Email? I don't want to fucking email him, dude. I'm sure there's like, I'm certain that I could get him through, one of my many different friends. There's probably at least, there's 32,000 people in here right now. There are probably, in this community right now watching, 100 people minimum that have direct access to him. I think you guys forget. I think you forget how vast this network is. And I think you forget how much people in this community. No way, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? I am certain of it. 100 is literally a conservative estimate. It's not just 33,000 people. It is 33,000 people who are all, on the left. What is this? I know Michael Moore personally. I can ask him if he wants to be on the stream. Let me know. Yes, please. Thank you. I believe this. Let me text Michael Moore. Dude, I don't think you guys understand. Dude. Y'all are so dumb. I've done this before. I'm telling you. People forget that this is literally an entire stadium. People forget that there are New York Times journalists in here. There are staffers for prominent politicians in here right now. There are people who work at the Department of Homeland Security. And I don't mean like they're here tracking, like straight up fans. HasanAbi heads come from very unique backgrounds. The one thing that unites them is how goddamn nerdy they are about politics. There are federal agents in here right now, ones that are tasked with observing and ones that are certainly just simply fans. The one group of people I think I don't actually have any fans in is cops. That's it. Outside of that, I have fans from every different kind of background in American society, except for cops, I think. There are former cops in here.